So now it's time to return to Formula One. I will make one small introduction to anyone really understand who am I talking to this night. And boa noite a todos. Estamos desta vez com o regresso de Alexandre Molina. Ele está de regresso para nos falar da Fórmula 1, principalmente das novidades para 2022. E a conversa vai ter que ser em inglês. So, Mr. Alexandre, as to say, Alexandre Molina, it is a great pleasure to receive you again. This is the second time that you are here at the Seis Válvulas from Portugal. It is a great honor for us to receive you. And obviously, we're going to talk about the Formula One, your job, and also, obviously, about the new season, the new challenge that we are going to face. But there's one special question that I want to make to you before starting with this talking, because I want to know from the people, or for the person that has arranged all the podiums at the Formula One, how it was in the last Grand Prix from the last season with that special climate, as to say, at the last Grand Prix from Abu Dhabi, for your job, for your, as to say, the way you have to make the things going right. How is it, or it was, to make the podium from the last race? Welcome, Mr. Alejandro.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Gonzalo. Thank you very much for having me again. And thanks for
My
that
honor.
very blunt first question, which is obviously has been a very big talking point. I have to say, look, for me, I have to focus on my job, and therefore, when I realized what was just about to happen, I had to change quite a lot of things in terms of the ceremony for that last podium, and therefore I had no time to think. All I had enough time to do is just to make sure that I was preparing everything in the way it needed to be done. And just for you to understand, it's like we had a different show or finish whether Max was world champion or Lewis was world champion. So obviously I was prepared for Lewis to be world champion because that looked like that's what was happening. And therefore, when it didn't, then I had to change everything towards the other finish. Therefore, for me, it was more of a, I wouldn't say panic mode, but it was like a very sort of, you need to be concentrated, you need to just like get on with it and just focus on making sure that it happens.
Can you share with us what it was prepared for each of these world champions? Yeah, for example, I mean, for us to have an idea what it was prepared.
Yeah, I think in terms of if Lewis had won, we had we had prepared video and we had a certain format of how the ceremony is going to be, and then we would have just shown that video, and we were just like expecting him to be in this position, and we had something in mind of how we're going to make this feel very special with that video that we have spent quite a lot of time to produce, to think about, to create, and you know, at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is to just amplify the moment that's happening. You're trying to sort of imagine, you want to elevate it and just give that moment just a climax, and therefore it would have been just a huge moment. So you can imagine that we had prepared quite a lot of even the video was very powerful, it was very thoughtful, it had involved a lot of people, it was done in a certain way, and it would have been shown in a certain way. And anyway, so the bottom line is, if Max won, then we had a plan with, as you probably saw on the side, Martin Garrix, the famous DJ, was supposed to come, and he was supposed to play at the end of the podium, and we had a different animation on the podium, and therefore we had to change all this. And then we had to find Martin Garrix, who had given up on his own side, and then suddenly realized that this was happening, so he ran, and then we had to get everything prepared. So
it's a little bit of a rush, as to say, in small time.
More than a little bit, because it's it's a very short time, and then it's like switch from 180 degrees. So yeah, we didn't really had and I didn't really had any second thought on what was happening. I just needed to make sure that it happened the best possible way.
And on the podium, as to say, with the mood from each of these drivers, because one has lost the championship in a way that he could not control. The other was a younger one and was celebrating. You made all the possible also to make this ceremony a little happier, but with difficulties to say in the mood from, for example, Lewis Hamilton. I believe that it was something that when you give a little talk, because I believe you can have a little chat before the podium, you had the chance to comfort, for example, Lewis, or not even that time, in the short time.
I think you're right. It's a difficult situation. I think the last thing you want is to interfere, because as you said, it's a huge ball of emotion from both sides, which extreme emotions, which are opposite emotions, and they all went through a huge roller coaster. So the last thing you want is to just interfere with that. So all you want is to try to amplify as much as what's happening, as you have Max, who is a first-time world champion, and obviously he's going to be very happy. But also you want to have a huge respect for Lewis and the situation that he's through. So you obviously you acknowledge that, and therefore you need to try to stay as neutral as possible. Just do your job and avoid to take one side or the other side, or it's not for me to party. I'm just here to just make sure that they can fulfill their moment as they need to do it. So yeah, if Lewis said I need a corner or I need to isolate myself, then I make sure he can have that. If he doesn't, then I'm not even gonna just interfere. So it's really a matter of trying to give them space, to respect them, to just make sure that they get what they need at that moment, and to acknowledge that there is no understanding of what they're going through, because obviously it's just such a hype, it's just such a phenomenal amount of adrenaline that I don't think there's any point for me to just try and sort of comfort anybody, because it's not really my place to do that. I think all I'm trying to do is to just make sure that they don't feel that I'm taking a side. I'm just here to just make both of them leave their own emotion at that moment.
And you have made it very perfectly, because there was nothing like that you have said before coming for us when we saw it at the TV, and there's perfect execution, as to say, to the plan. It was working just the same as before. Perfect. So, Mr. Molina, let's forget 2021. Okay, let's give it for the FIA that will analyze all the things about the last Grand Prix. Let's forget it. That's for not for us. I want to talk with you, and that's why you are also talking about 2022. In this case, I will start by asking two different questions, as to say. One of the first is about what have changed, as to say, in your rules, in your world, in your work, in this new era from Formula One, because we see new cars, new tires, everything almost to say new, with some new drivers also. But in your way of working, in your job, is there going to be some changes? Because we will see, and that it was confirmed, the sprint races, for example, will oblige for some extra work, new Grand Prix that we will going to talk about it. For example, with the Miami Grand Prix, we will talk it later. But at this moment, do you think in your job, as to say, you have got more autonomy, as to say, more from the Formula One? They can allow you to make the things the way you think. Can you tell us what is going to change in 2022?
Well, I think it's if you look at the last 3 years or 4 years, there's been a continuous desire to change and to allow the sport to have a better competition, and that's we analyzed everything that we had in front of us before 2017, and we identified different areas. So the sporting was one side, and I think from their side, from Ross Brown's side on his team, they analyzed everything they had to do, and the ultimate position was like the changing the rules for 2022. From my side, it was more on the creative side and trying sort of the entertainment side and try to make it a better environment for the fans to be able to enjoy everything from the moment that they arrive until the moment they leave, to try to give them more than just the sport, but also some entertainment in the grandstand, entertainment in the fan zone, to just make sure that they have a great journey throughout the weekend when they come into the race. So I'd say progression from my side is a little more fluid than from the sporting side. Now, hopefully this year, because the cars have changed so much, and because we hope that the competition is going to be so much more exciting, it would just help me to on our team to just do an even better progression towards giving more entertainment for the fans. And you know, if the race is more interesting, that amplify the moment before the start and after the start, so it makes our job a little bit easier because we have a better story to tell. So I guess it's a teamwork, and we all work towards the same target, and we actually work all together. So we discuss this a lot, and I share a lot of my thought with the sporting team. So then they're very fully aware of what we're trying to achieve. I think from this year, yeah, we're very excited because we've got, you know, everything is about the telling us a story. And obviously this year with the new car, we've got a lot of story to tell. We're very excited about the new format, about see how it's going to actually translate on the track. We've seen a lot of changes already in the past. We've seen in Saudi, for example, that the motorsport team helped to make the track more relevant for overtaking, and it worked because the track was really exciting and the racing was really good. So we can see the impact on obviously all the experience and building that relationship just helped to make it better. So hopefully that will continue, and this year will be another step towards this effect. So yeah, I think we're very exciting.
Any special changes, for example, at the podium? Are you planning a new library, for example, new symbols, as to say, something new that we can expect from the podiums?
Yeah, I think this is a constant evolution. So I don't think there is a radical change. And I guess it's a little bit when you look at the design of the car, it's like it's not a disruption on it's not like the car is going to do completely different. But hopefully, it's an upgrade of the car from last year, and therefore I would say it's probably the same here. It's like all the things that we learned, especially last year when we had a more and more entertainment. We had a bigger podium, we had LED screen, and we saw that with actually the screen content, we can create a lot of interaction with the fans. Hopefully, we're going to get more and more fans of the track. And more and more fans track invasion, and therefore we can interact with them when they're coming toward the podium ceremony. We saw in Mexico that when we lift the car on the podium, it's very strong asset to do, and the fans really love it. So we're learning every day, and yes, I think it's a matter of packaging all that and making it like more consistent, so you see it more and more at more races. So I guess I hope that you'll see a different and you see an upgrade this year, and but I'm not sure that you will be able to pinpoint what that upgrade is.
Okay, I see the point. When we talked the last time and the time before, you have, and I have noticed that statement that you said that you want us to see the example from the Super Bowl and put it in the Formula One with the show, with the fireworks and all the things. Do you believe that this is the as to say, the season number 0 to start these procedures, these new procedures to get more people involved, as you said before? But will this the year that you are going to try to make a different show with the podium and all the things that you said before?
Well, it's interesting you say that because I just happened to go to the Super Bowl this weekend. So I just came back from the Super Bowl, and you're right. I think even more than what I saw there. I thought it was really interesting because I felt like what they achieve, it's really very similar to what we are trying to do. And
as you said before.
But this time I just saw it, and I spent like 3.5 hours in the stadium, and I didn't feel that there was any sort of a slow moment. So I feel like really I had a reassurance that what we are doing and what we are trying to achieve is going in the right direction, because actually they're doing the same thing. Me not knowing anything about the NFL or American football, I felt very comfortable watching that show. So I think it's the right direction to go, from what I experienced this weekend. So yeah, I'm even more reassured that what we are trying to achieve is in the right direction. And I think for me, it's not necessarily about the podium, but it's about wrapping up the race in itself. And therefore, it's as much at the pre-start of the race, where you're building up that emotion towards the start of the race. You're trying to sort of interact with the fan. You're trying to make sure that they know exactly what happened in the rest of the season. So you're creating that sort of video content. You build up that emotion, and you build up that excitement toward the start of the race. So they're completely pumped up when the race starts. And I'm very focused on the people who are at races. I'm not so. I mean, there's all the other people are focusing on people on television, but for me, is really the people who are at the race, and therefore building up that moment until the race starts. If there is a moment in the race where there is a safety car or anything like that, that again we take over and we just give them something that entertain them, that just make sure that they don't feel that there is a big gap. And then obviously at the end of the race, that they can just like burst all that energy that they had, all that excitement, all that optimism, that they can just let it go, and they can celebrate with the drivers. So I don't really like to call it the podium ceremony anymore. I just like to call it an opening ceremony and a closing ceremony, and this all wrapped up towards around the race. So it's a big show from the beginning of the opening ceremony until the end of the closing ceremony, including the race.
Okay, so perfect. The contract, as to say, with the champagne deliver, as to say, it will continue in this year. We'll still have Ferrari at the podiums, at the bottles, champagne bottles.
I believe so. I think we have a very strong relationship, and they're very interesting, because they're very creative. They're very excited. They're passionate about what they're doing, and I think it's really it's great to have people who come up with a different angle, different point of view, who have that energy, and they just always want to create. They have the very Italian tradition, and it's very important. But on the other side, they are very young and dynamic, and they just want to try new things. And they're very open to all these opening ceremony shows. So we have a lot of conversation. And it's all about brainstorming on how we can just amplify this and make it a better experience for the fans.
That idea from putting a small camera at the bottles, it was your idea because you saw it in other places, or you didn't have anything to do with it, with this camera that shows us a little bit different image?
Yeah, actually, I work very closely with television, and I have a colleague. You should actually talk to him one day, because he's also he's very interesting. He's been there for 20 years, and Jonathan Nicholas, he's working on the creative side of television, and we work very closely together on the show, and that was his idea. So, as you say, it was a very good idea, and it made a big difference. So, yeah. It didn't come from me, no.
Okay,
but,
okay.
I know where it came from.
Okay, I had to ask you this. This year, we know that in some countries, I believe in many of them, that you are going to travel in this Formula One circuit. We have seen that they are decreasing the measures for COVID. I'm asking at this moment for what you know, the knowledge from yourself. What do you know that are going to be the new measures for the way for the Formula One dealing, as to say, with the paddock, as to say? Are there going to be any changes? You already know some changes in this thing, or not exactly?
Yeah, I think I'm like you. I just I see a lot of positivity. A lot of countries are relaxing a lot of the rules. Even some of the most strict countries have started to relax their own rules. So obviously, we have to be very careful on keep on our tiptoes attention, but we are very optimistic, and it looks really good that we can release some of these efforts, and it's going to be much easier and better for the fans as well. Having said that, we're very conscious that the fight is not finished until it's finished, and therefore we're very careful. We're paying a lot of attention, but right now the mood is in the optimism, and we really believe that it's getting better and better by the day. So we're very hopeful that the back to normal will come very soon.
Okay. My last question. I believe this was going to be the last question. I hope there's no more questions, but at this moment, that was the question that I wanted to make to you. Is about the new Grand Prix that we will host there in 2022. It's a Grand Prix from Miami. You have been there in the United States recently, as you said before. What can you tell us about this Grand Prix? Is there already a chance for you to prepare your work? Any idea, because you are going to USA again, new places, as to say. What do you expect for this Grand Prix in 2022, the Miami Grand Prix?
Yeah, I think you're right. I went there a couple of weeks ago, and I spent quite a lot of time talking to them. There is a great energy coming out of the promoter. They've got a huge experience in, as you can imagine, with the stadium, not just in NFL, but I think in lots of different sports events. They've done music concerts. I think they know their house extremely well. They have a great team, very creative. Miami is an amazing hub. There's a huge hype around it, and you know it's always dangerous when you raise your expectations, because you feel like there is a risk of being disappointed. But I have to say that from everything I see and I feel, I think even with the high expectations that everybody have, everybody will be impressed, because they're doing an outstanding job. They're very thoughtful in every direction. Everything that I saw is very exciting. So I'm pretty sure that the world would be impressed. It will be spectacular.
We have seen, I believe they have released it yesterday, I believe so, some photos from the places with also the art rock and other things. There's one spectacle that you are going to simulate in other Grand Prix, as to say, with that example.
Say it again.
In this new that we have seen some footage, as to say, from the ideas they were going to play or to put their art rock when grandstand. Do you think that's a good idea? Because you have already seen it, I believe, in a different way in the Texas, in the Grand Prix, where they used to play rock, some concerts. Do you think that that's a good idea that you wanted to see in other Grand Prix, in other circuits?
Yeah, you know, I think I'm a big fan of the Austin Grand Prix as well. I don't think that it's one or the other. I think what I really love about these two races is that it looks like they're going to have their own identity, very different identity. And that's what I'm the most excited about, is that Miami is coming up with something completely different. And therefore, there will be no competition. It would be like more about going to both of them rather than having to choose, because they're very, very different. So Miami has not tried to sort of do a better version of Austin. They have tried to do something that suits Miami and what people expect from Miami, with all the perception that you can have. So it's a really coolness, a really sort of a different hard rock festival music. It's really sort of going to be on the entertainment front, it's going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, I think a very different proposition, but both extremely exciting. So yeah, I can't wait to be on the 8th of May and be in Miami and to deliver with them.
I'm sure. As I believe you are a Formula One fan, no doubt about it. What do you expect from, as to say, a point of view from a Formula One fan? What do you expect for this season?
Well, that's a very good question. I think
Forgetting the job, as to say, your profession, I believe that you have your opinion in a professional way, but in this case, in a particular way, and as a Formula One fan, what do you expect?
well, I tell you that with the last few years that we had, there was, and especially last year, it was just so exciting. So I guess the only thing that we can have, I'd say, a little bit better than last year is that we can have more team being competitive and being able to win for the fight for the championship. So I'd say if I had one wish, it would be to see another one or two teams who are able to just fight with Mercedes on Red Bull. So and I think that's totally possible. So I'm very excited by seeing what happens in the testing and how that's going to come out. But yeah, if we can achieve to have like different winners for different Grand Prix and having like Ferrari, maybe McLaren, or being fighting at the top for the championship, then there's nothing much more that we can hope for. And I guess we will have achieved what we were hoping for. Having said that, I think we shouldn't be too tough with ourselves. And I think that was an aim to achieve with the change of rules. Whether it's going to happen this year, I don't know, but I hope so. If it doesn't happen this year, then hopefully it will be very soon. But yeah, if it could happen this year, it'd be amazing.
And you had to learn any Chinese new Chinese words for the new contender, because we have a new driver from China, a new market at this moment is, as to say, exploding, because we are going to receive a new, in this case, a new driver, a Chinese driver. Did you have to learn some different word to welcome him if he goes to the podium? Arigato.
Well, yeah, I tell you what. I think this is very exciting. We've been to China for a long time. I think we've been there since 2004. So we had a few years to practice our Chinese. But what I really like with this is that it's a very authentic story, and I think that Chinese driver has been performing. Is going through the rank. He actually went through merit, and he's been like such a tough, talented driver that it's very exciting to see how he can perform in Formula One. So and then the consequence of that is that hopefully the Chinese fans are going to have their own hero that they can cheer for, which is the best you can hope for. So and I can see that every time we go to China, we see so much enthusiasm from them. That it's really exciting to see how that's going to pan out. But yeah, I hope he's doing well, and that he will perform because he proved in F2 that he was very talented. So I'm very excited to see how that's going to pan out.
Okay, Mr. Molina, it was a pleasure to have you here in 16 Válvulas. Before anything else here, to launch a new era in Formula One, and also with your jobs, all I have to do is thank you for this opportunity and wishing you the best for this season. I hope to receive you more often to say whatever you want and anything that you want to share with us. But at this moment, it was important for us to have an idea for what is happening in 2022. So thank you once again. I wish the best for this season and hope to hear you soon. Bye-bye, Mr. Molina.
Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
Okay, it was a great pleasure. Thank you again.